Hey everybody, this is John for MTG Nexus. A little bit more mono red in Pioneer this week. This time we're gearing it down a bit, or throttling up, however you wish to look at it, by playing a lower to the ground version of the Chonky Red deck that's been kind of dominating the format. That ironically boards into Chonky Red, basically. This is a mono red burn or prowess deck featuring things like Monastery Swiftspear, Soulscar Mage, G2 Lava Runner, using things like Wild Slash, Shock, Searing Blood, Lightning Strike, Wizard Lightning, and Bone Crusher Giant to increase the amount of damage your 1-drops are doing, backed up by things like Eidolon, the Great Revel. And with your 8 wizard count, it's fairly reasonable to actually run Wizard's Lightning and expect it to be Lightning Bolt on occasion. One final copy of Shock, and then your land base is 16 mountains, 4 Ramanat Ruins. Not a whole lot fancy here, just trying to get your opponent dead. This version's a little bit less reliant on its individual threats being powerful, a little bit more about just getting your opponent from 20 to 0. Sideboard, basically all the go big threats, 4 Chandra, 4 Glory Banger, 2 copies of Chandra Accolade of Flame, which I think is an underplayed card, especially even in the modern format. 1 copy of Rampaging Frostodon, because apparently 3rd Chandra wasn't good and you need life gain prevention. And then 4 copies of Mutavault to bring in whenever you're kind of gearing up to bring in your bigger threats to go longer in certain matches. So, the positives of this build is it probably lets you go under certain decks like Ramp and possibly even something like Soulflayer a little bit better, but does struggle with mid-range decks that are bringing things like Obzdot to the table, Siege Rhinos, those kind of stuff, which the Chonky Red deck is a little bit more capable of grinding and playing out. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out compared to our Chonky Red League that we did. But as always, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, please consider subscribing, give us a thumbs up, leave a constructive comment down below, as we aim to be the most informative modern and pioneer channel on the YouTubes. So we're back for our first match. Unfortunately, we're on the draw and immediately have an interesting decision in our hands. So have 3 1-drop plays as well as 3 2-drop plays. So I think this hand is perfectly keepable on 1 mana, especially. And immediately get paired up against a type of green aggro deck, which is going to give us fits probably. Burning a tree into stuff. Alright. So now I have the interesting decision of what to kill. I feel like our opponent might be late on lands. Of course not. Sure. Just full of removal spells. Well, Beastie Boy over there is a problem. Makes Eidolon feel like a bit of a liability. don't think we can reliably burn our opponent out from here. So, what do we do here? Should attack with Lava Mancer into that and see if he blocked. For some reason got tunnel vision. I forgot I still had a 2-2 in play. Six damage. So we're kind of hoping to rip a land here. And then our opponent attacks with Bone Crusher Giant. So I suppose that fact doesn't actually matter if they attack with Bone Crusher or not. Or to rip a land. Alright, so we could put our opponent to 2 and then just die. So now it becomes interesting what I'm supposed to do here. I think on the play I'm supposed to stay small ball. I think on the draw I'm supposed to try to go more pound for pound. I'm just going to click submit. It's possible, like I said, once again, possible I'm supposed to go big here in the aggro mirror-ish, but I feel like on the play we're advantaged to try to go underneath of them. We have 12 1-drops, we have enough removal spells to leverage against them. And, as we saw there, we got really, really close. If I wouldn't have brain farted, it's possible we could have even won that matchup, or that game, if I would have attacked the Gitu Lava Runner into their Questing Beast that one turn. Yeah, seems perfectly reasonable, especially if they don't kill our Soulscar on one. Hopefully we're able to leverage him. Chandra's defeat, sure. good ground out here, unfortunately. Well, that's a pretty good follow-up. Alright, that's unfortunate. It's possible we were supposed to go bigger there, but yeah. One of the downsides to playing the hyper-aggressive mono red is you are more vulnerable to the go bigger versions of things. So, anyways, on the next match. Back for the second match here. Unfortunately, we're on the draw again. This hand's perfectly reasonable. Lead on Swift Spear or Wild Slash. Obviously, kind of depends on what our opponent's doing. Voting Ruins. No idea what's going on over there. Sure. Go. Clearly, don't have any removal spells. So, no idea what's going on in our opponent's deck. Alright, so Rakdos Aggro most likely then. Would feel like it would fit. So lots of biggins. So maybe we go big ourselves. These Chandras go down then. Eidolon on the draw, maybe. Surrey Blood has some decent targets, but not great. Show a couple lava runners on the play, or on the draw. Yeah, this hand seems alright. Okay. Probably gonna get stomped, right? Yep. Unsurprising. Let's go ahead and run out that. We have a mountain in hand, so. Yep. Chip shot with mutable when we can. Generaler, sure. It's got a chainy boy. Yep, Glory Banger on Glory Banger Prime. Yep. Do not exert dragons on dragons. Doesn't work that way. Yep. It's got a chainy boy. Stop playing spells. And we're dead. So. Comes Big Al. So we're tempted to bring those in on the play. Eidolon's obviously better on the play. Guess I'm going. I guess if there's a 5-card hand that can get there, this might be one of them. I know there's a Chandra on the bottom of our deck, but anything else we can. Yep. Yep. Not gonna win when we're gonna flood out like that, unfortunately. So again, maybe I'm just supposed to stick with the go big plan in the post-board games period, because it just seems like there's too many. Well, even with all that going on, Chandra's Defeat's just such a brutal and efficient card in this format against a primarily mono red build. So, anyways, on to the next match. Alright, once again, we're on the draw, unfortunately. This hand still seems pretty reasonable. Sure. Hopefully we don't get A-charmed here. Oop. Alright, sure. We're not casting any spells right now. You seriously have... How many bloody spell pierces do you have in your deck? And time to just end the game. If I get got by a third spell pierce, then so be it. Alright, so 1 quadrillion spell pierces. Pour out the Searing Bloods. Bring in 2 Chandras. Tells me you're likely late on lands. Protection from red or black spells. Sure. So, doesn't really protect you from Chandra should that resolve. So your sideboard playing is Phoenix Slayer Paladin, you say. Such an annoying card. And a 2/2 first striker stops your entire team. I guess we have 8 points of burn in hand, right? Allows me to deploy every single burn spell in my system. So I could get in for 6 here. I have to go for it. The longer this game goes, the worse shape we are in. So. Do you really have settle the wreckage on top of all this shenanigans? First strike is so annoying. Try it like this. Fortunately, that's a mulligan. His hand's a keep. What am I getting rid of here? Guess technically Wild Slash. Maybe it's just supposed to be a land. I think we're just supposed to pressure them as much as possible here. Alright, hopefully you don't have a second Supreme Verdict or a Fiend Slayer Paladin. Looks like a Teferi to me. No Supreme Verdict. Alright. They're very noticeably keeping Spell Pierce up. Still think I'm supposed to jam into it. So close, yet so far away. Opponent has what? It's kind of a wing and a prayer here. Oh wow. Delightful. Yep, that was our last shot. Alright. Very unfortunate result here. Alright, on to the next match. Hey, we're back for the fourth match here. I'm gonna have some unlucky die rolls this week. Against Mopey. Hand seems reasonable. Definitely keep an R7. Being on Soul Scar because G2 could potentially get whatchamacallit later in the game, haste. We happen to cast these two spells before this comes down. Best sequencing this turn is either 1-drop plus slash, or I don't know if we need something more substantial here. So we're gonna get flayed. It's kind of ironic that as we've played this league, two of our matches were the exact same. Hmm. Interesting to see what they block here. The only thing they can afford to block, they might actually want Carotid in the graveyard, so I do have to be mindful of that here. Need to push damage without getting Carotid into the graveyard, because the end of game's plan here. Just do just enough that this Carotid isn't going to the graveyard. So really don't want them to get a hexproof giant monster. They're getting carried it anyway. It's Questing Beast on their hand. Yeah, if they ever draw a whatchamacallit here, we're just dead anyway. Like, Questing Beast isn't that big of a deal, fortunately. Whereas Soulflayer with all the crap they have in the yard is problematic. Actually, no, it's not just problematic, it's game over. Alright, yeah, there's Questing Beast. Sure. No blocks. Trigger. Alright. So, Soulflayer. Definitely want Ferocity. Don't know if these Searing Bloods do a whole lot in this this relationship, this match up. Maybe Chandra. Maybe we have outs to 4/4s without double shooting ourselves here. So I think one of the issues with playing a go under version of best deck in the format is your opponent already has a bunch of sideboard cards that are targeted towards your bigger brother, and they tend to be even more effective against the go underneath version. So like our opponent, things like Ether Gust, things like Fiend Slayer Paladin, things like Lyra are already pretty brutal against Big Red, and they're even more difficult for a smaller version of the deck or a go big cheap knockoff version in the post board games. And then the two mid-range decks obviously are probably not great matchups because usually the way aggro decks go is like it goes little aggro deck, slightly bigger aggro deck, mid-range control deck, and then like the aggro deck can get under them, and that just kind of stacks on top of each other. And in the terms of like the hierarchy of going one step up the arms race. So the theory of we could have gone underneath the blue-white control deck, I think, is sound, but I think them having those Fiend Slayer Paladins really kind of bit us there in game 2. In game 3, we were really, really close, but not quite there. And then against Gruul, I mean, one game we ran out of gas and flooded out. Yeah, I mean, definitely a hand we keep. This is one of those matchups where you just kind of hope to dodge their nut draw. Otherwise, they beat you pretty much. Like as we saw with the big red decks, there are some of their draws that are just like, without Soulscar Mage, you just can't beat it with this deck. Well, I'm kind of surprised we missed a point of damage there. I was fully expecting them to have an interaction there. Definitely missed a point of damage. Grizzly Salvage. Confirmed. Liana Last Hope. Not even particularly good against us. Sure. Didn't read the text. Questing Beast is annoying. Yeah. Keeping in mind our opponent should be at 8. So our opponent can have a life-linking 4/4 with haste. At the moment. But Death Touch, I guess. Yep, feels like a flayer, man. So Death Touch, haste. Won't learn their lesson, apparently not. Well, it could have a swift end here. Certainly a card they could have. Rostodon has to be played this turn. Sure. That's 3 points damage there. Menace is so weird on this card. Opponent should be at 2. Actually, opponent should be at 1. In the end, I guess a little bit of luck balances out our way, huh? Alright, finally got a match win after this start so far on the last match. So does that make us 5 for 5 at not winning die rolls? Certainly feels like it. This hand's perfectly fine. Soulscar Mage into Swift Spear plus light up a stage, or Soulscar Mage into Eidolon, potentially Swift Spear into Eidolon, depending on. Okay. So. It's possible I'm not supposed to play anything into this, but. Looks like they're the big red version. Yep. So there's several different plays we could do here. We could Eidolon, hold up Lightning Strike, could double Swift Spear. Could Swift Spear plus light up the stage. Not really sure what we're supposed to do here. I think we're going to need more lands to operate, so I think I'm going to try for Swift Spear plus light up the stage here. So don't give me hope that you're stuck on lands, friend. Let's go your ability to leverage on the battlefield here. Sure. was done and play my land there. Okay, let's see what their play is here. Seemed like a poor decision. I think I would have just let the Searing Blood go. Turning. Ooh. That's a rough move. No attacks. No blocks, good as 6. Okay. Don't think that makes a particular difference, although I could just be dead here. Let's hope we don't have a removal spell. Wow. Alright. So we got a little bit lucky there. Got a little bit lucky. So how many cards does Searing Blood actually kill? Not that many. What other card on the draw makes less sense? Mirror Shocks and some more Wild Slashes. Get these out of here for our kind of try to go pound for pound game plan with 12 1-drops to kind of backed up by some burn spells. Yeah. Wow. Sure. Kind of punished for our not leaving in copies of Wild Slash potentially. Literally the only card in their deck that we can't answer. Force the boys to burn spell if they have one. Doesn't save our dude, but at least allows me to stomp the yard, you know? Rabble Master. Rabble, rabble. Maybe we'll get lucky and we can hold back the rest of the team. Phoenix is extremely annoying on this battlefield. Cool. So if they're holding to leave Rabble Master, am I supposed to leave in Serum Blood? Maybe? Shade around the edges. So I would love to play first. This hand is decent, but not like ecstatic. See if I can get done using a removal spell here. It's possible they just don't have one. To another Wild Slash. No reason to expose my dragons without value. It feels like they were debating keeping up Yep. Swing a bunch, sure. Unless they have shown just a few here, we're in so much trouble. confirmed you don't. Yeah. Don't think that's going to quite be enough. Okay. Box. Nuisance and Dag on the crack back here. Alright. Looks like they were trying to set up the 2-turn kill there. So, interesting league. Giant Stomp would have done it even if they would have answered this. So they would have drawn Chandra's defeat. They would have had 1, 2, 3 blockers, 4 attackers plus a stomp. Yeah, they were just dead. So nice. So we're back for the wrap up on the little mono red aggro deck. I think the takeaway is how razor thin these matchups are. Like the Soulflayer matchup, if our opponent got a little bit lucky and found the Soulflayer game 1, or had better mills game 2, although I don't think they quite understood how some of the interactions with Soul Scavenge stuff was working, so I think they might have been newer with the Soulflayer deck. But I think the 2 red leagues have shown how close in power this format can be. I think they showed the dynamic of the mid-range versus the smaller aggro deck versions. While the mid-range deck might have been able to power through what the blue-white deck brought in, the red deck kind of petered out and lost to, Lyra and stuff, which may have been beaten Chonky Red too, Chonky. But I think this showed that when the most powerful deck in the format is a red mid-range deck, and you're playing a smaller go-under version of the same deck, you're going to be running into a lot of the same hate cards, but they're going to be a little bit even more effective against you. Things like Chandra's defeat, Fiendslayer Paladin, Lyra, Ether Gust. One of the things when I played one of the original burn lists earlier in Pioneer is the deck can run out of gas. Now this version's a little bit better. You have Realm Knot Runes, you have Light Up the Stage, you have the Go Bigger package in the sideboard. But I think that comes at a cost. Comes at the utility of not having access to things like Mizian Mortars or Lava Coil or some of those kind of stuff. So I'm not really sure what's the better place to be. I think Chonky Red's the individually more powerful thing. I think the mono red matchup probably has certain decks like, say, 5-color Niv or Eldrazi ramp where being a little bit faster might be better in some spots. So I think it's really kind of a toss-up, which I think obviously Chonky is the better deck in the format, but better deck does not equate to necessarily better results. There were some spots we got a little bit unlucky, some mulligans to 5 and some other stuff, but I think the big takeaway here is kind of like that tier that I was talking about, where you go little aggro deck, bigger aggro deck, mid-range control deck, and then the red deck, the little deck can get under the control deck theoretically, but if the control deck's ready for it, then maybe it really doesn't serve any purpose to run the smaller aggro deck at this point in the format. But definitely a lot of fun. Definitely a little bit of frustration there in the first couple of leagues. Kind of recovered, got the 2-3 there. Point blunt is I don't like to lose, especially the deck that I consider one of my specialties in red. But, lessons learned, and it's probably best to just stick to chunky at this particular stage in the meta. This has been John for MTG Nexus. Don't forget to check out our video of Chonky Red from yesterday if you haven't checked that out yet. And we'll be continuing this Chonky Red and Red Aggro for the rest of the week. This has been John for MTG Nexus.